What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm really excited to bring you a new knife review, but I am doing this in response to the going gear that I picked up in May. Apologies, I kept calling it the Stinger. It is the Slinger. I don't know why, but I thought that was a T when I was doing the video. I realized during edit and made the correction at the beginning of that video that it is the Slinger, not the Stinger. But this was a 2-inch D2 steel blade with a 3-inch stainless steel frame lock handle with a 59 to 61 Rockwell hard treatment, which is a little low, and 2.2 ounces. And Going Gear is saying that it was like a $50 knife. I don't know, but to me, it just didn't feel like a $50 knife. So I thought, what could I find that could be comparable to the Slinger that might be interesting to look at? So we'll set this aside for now. Let's go ahead and dive into this one. I did throw it back in the package because I do think FreeTiger does a nice job with their knives. And I wanted to have a look at the FreeTiger because I thought this could be an interesting look, because at the price point that this particular knife comes with, you get the box, you get a nice sleeve, it comes with their warranty card, it comes with moisture wicking pack, and it is a stainless steel D2 blade. Let's go ahead and move the box out the way for right now. So let me go ahead and run through the specs. We'll get a weight, comparison knives, and then we're going to talk about these two knives. So the FreeTiger has a 2.6-inch D2 steel blade, uncoated, 3.74-inch stainless steel frame lock for an overall length of 6.29 inches. Let's go ahead and get the weight because I couldn't find it on the website. They actually do feel kind of weighty, and I imagine because it is tool steel and it is stainless steel frame lock that this is going to be a totally whiff there. Sorry, big hand problems, guys. So 3.7, just really quickly, because I think the Slinger is going to be a little bit smaller because it is a 2-inch blade. So 2.4 versus, what did I say? 3.7. So it definitely does feel like it has some more weight to it, but again, I think it is a little bit bigger. Really quick, let's run through some size comparisons of the FT601. All right, first up, we're going to bring out the Spyderco Yojimbo 2. As you can see, this is just a much smaller knife, and then we'll bring out the Shaman. So you can see this is what I would constitute a 5th pocket carry knife, or a knife that you could throw into an organizer that you maybe don't get into or use every day. I actually have a Penguin in an organizer like that. Probably should have brought that out here for reference. Next up, we're going to bring out the Benchmade Bug Out, and so happy to have one back in the inventory. It's going to be my SIG K320 with the aluminum handles. Really good size reference. I am going to bring the budget knives out here, although I think everyone probably realizes the size, because the budget knife is the one that I reserved for the sub 3-inch blade knife. So here you can get a really good reference of size for that, and I will bring the buck out just in case anyone is more familiar with that knife as well. I do like to be consistent with my comparison knives so that you guys can get an idea of the size of this particular knife. Now let me go ahead and jump into my thoughts on the knife, and then I'll mention some alternatives, and I do want to do the comparison against the FreeTiger. So this is a satin blade D2 steel. You have to be careful with D2, as you know, as it is corrosive resistant. Has excellent edge retention for your day-to-day use, but you have to be careful because it is not a super tough steel. It would be more prone to chipping, and depending on the heat treat that is done at FreeTiger, could be good or bad depending on the heat treat. So you hear not too bad on the branding. You do have the FT601. I don't know why they felt compelled to put D2 steel on here twice. I thought that was a little strange, very unnecessary. It has a very utilitarian shape. It is a little thick in the geometry, but they do get down to a very fine edge. The sharpening choil on it is very shallow. You're gonna, or I guess actually very deep. Shallow would be further back. It's very deep. It's right up to the edge there. So if you get to a point where you need to sharpen this, you're gonna run into a smile pretty quickly. I do like the finish on the stainless steel handle. I think it looks really nice. I think they put some very interesting lines in it, and the pocket clip functions pretty well and does a good job keeping your hand off of the lock bar for deployment. It does offer jimping, but it is a little far back. But then again, it does put you right into the middle of the blade when you're trying to use the jimping for that. I think the choke up position is probably like the best on this particular knife. And again, pretty good edge for what my opinion would be like throw it in the organizer or throw it in the bag or throw it in the car type knife, something you don't care about too much, or maybe even you leave it in the toolbox knowing that you have something that has a good edge. But just make sure wherever you're storing it isn't going to be susceptible to moisture, because you are going to get rust and you're going to see some corrosion on it a little bit. So you could just throw some oil on it, to be honest, to prevent that, just a small coat, and wipe it to where it's pretty dry by hand and there should be still enough on there. Now, I do have big hands. I have found that you have to do, like a lot of the knives that I found with frame locks that have this tight of an entry, is you kind of have to find the spot that works best. I tried initially starting over here, then I tried coming over to the lock, and neither one really worked well for me. I actually found that coming in at an angle works the best to get it to disengage. The detent ball and the action's really gritty, but I haven't taken it apart to clean it. The hookup for the detent is a little late, but again, for a knife this small, I don't know how much I would complain about that. It did come perfectly centered, and the quality feels okay. I feel like when you actually go to light switch it versus trying to do like a push button, the light switch feels like it deploys it a little bit more snappy. So I do like that. Now let's go ahead and bring the Slinger out here. This knife here is $20. I think it's 19 and some change. So when I say 20, I think it is a sub $20 knife. So hopefully if you've made it this far into the video, your ears kind of perked up a little bit. $20 for D2 and stainless steel for a 5th pocket carry, or if you're in a restricted area where you have to have a knife less than 3 inches, but you can still have a frame lock, could be an interesting option, especially considering this one, which I think has a better blade shape. And aesthetically, I think that the FT601 forgot for a second, I think it looks better in my opinion, and I think it has more material for the ergonomics. So here I have, this is pretty much a 2-finger knife almost. I can barely get a 1/2 finger on for the back. Whereas I think this occupying similar space is actually a full 3-finger knife, and you can almost get the pinky on here. So very interesting when you think about this is 20 D2 stainless steel frame lock and a little bit more of the steels for your money versus the Slinger, which is a coated blade, does not have a tip down. You can only do tip up or tip down, depending on which one you want. That might influence you. You might want tip down, or you might want tip up. So that could be an influence. Neither one of them have great, but again, for being so small, I'm trying not to be too critical about that, but neither one of them really have the best action. Neither one of them have like the best access to the lock bar. But what I think you would be using this for, I really think if you're into organizers and you want a small affordable knife, if you're doing a budget organizer or you're throwing something in your backpack that you're not messing with too often, these are probably interesting options. I would say that you can get a Parrot with micarta and D2 for about $28. But this is going to feel more weighty, which I think, ironically, for being so budgety, kind of makes it feel a little bit more premium. Isn't that crazy? Like the micarta on the Parrot is smooth, and it feels faux almost, even though I know that it's not. It's micarta on stainless steel, and I think these are on bearings, whereas the Parrot is on phosphor bronze nylon washers sandwiched together. As you can see there, I do have a little bit of an issue with the flipper tab on the Slinger, but again, would you pay $50 for the Slinger, or would you pay $20 for the FreeTiger FT601? I would pay $20 for this one if it was going to be like throw it in the toolbox in the car, in an organizer in the car, or in a roadside kit in the car. I would just spend $20. Like, I don't need it to do much. Probably cut open some packages to, do whatever it is that I need to do in that situation, or open a box if it's in the toolbox, or cut a zip tie. I am not going to pay $50 for this Slinger. There's nothing about this Slinger that is really compelling at all. But anyway, I wanted to do a review. I think for $20, I'm going to tell you to spend $8 to $10 more and get yourself a 420 See hollow grind buck 110 if you want like a throw it in the toolbox bug out bag knife. If you need something small for the organizer, it's really going to be hard to find something of a higher quality giving you D2. But anyway, I just wanted to do this because I was like, you know what? I think it's ridiculous that this was in the Going Gear bag. I still stand by the fact that I think Going Gear should look at getting pre-existing knives done in exclusive colorways and or blade materials if that's, you know, not going to drive the price up too much for their Going Gear packs. Stop trying to find stuff that are unique, different, that you haven't offered before, but maybe start looking at knives that exist like an Elementum, like a Parrot, like a Penguin, anything like that you can offer, you know, throw that in there. Even if you decided one time just to do like, you know, a Delica with 14C28N, if Spyderco would offer that with the colorway in the Going Gear colorway, whatever color you decided to make that, I think that would be more interesting. Even if that was all that came, I still think people would be excited about that. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, leave that like for me. I appreciate the support for those of you that are subscribed. If you're not, consider subscribing, and don't forget, everyone, turn that notification bell to all so you get alerts whenever future content drops. Thanks for tuning in today, and I hope all of you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.